Let's see. Oh, so that having been said, I'd like to present to you my topic of fear displeasing others. Fear of displeasing others does benefit us. How so? Let me give you an illustration. I come into work and I have a conversation with my boss. My boss and I don't see things eye to eye. We have a difference in opinion. My boss has had enough of me voicing my opinion, and they state to me, look, here's how it is, and that is that. Now I have a choice. My choice is to fear, to retaliate to that laying down of the law and say, oh, no, let me tell you how it's going to be. Or I can fear, and in doing so, I can fear getting fired and losing my job. So I think most of us in that case would say, yeah, probably not a good idea to retaliate and to tell your boss, no, let me tell you what's going to happen here, because of fear. In that sense, fear affected our life. It affected whether or not we're going to have a job, what kind of relationship we're going to have with our boss, and so forth. Another illustration I'd like to give you, or an example, is I'd like to ask you guys, how many of you, when a teenager or young adult, would have loved to go to that wild party on that weekend that your friend was throwing because his parents were out of town? Or you wanted to go get that tattoo because everybody else was going to get a tattoo, or you just personally were like, look, I love tattooing, it's my thing, I'm going to get this design, and so you contemplated that. Or you thought, I am going to go raid my parents' liquor cabinet and have myself a drink and have a good old time. What prevented you from doing those things? Fear of displeasing your parents, perhaps. Fear of getting that tattoo and going, oh my God, what was I thinking when I turned old? This is going to be wrinkly and ugly. Or fear of starting yourself on a really bad habit of being an alcoholic. It could have been multiple things. But again, you weigh the pros and you weigh the cons. Fear of the opposite motivates you to take action to the other. The next point that I'd like to make is, how many here, show of hands, consider themselves to be religious or believe in a higher power, somebody who's spiritual? The majority of us feel that we are spiritual or conscious of our spiritual needs, conscious of a higher power. Well, from day one in our lifespan, we choose our actions according to a fear of displeasing that higher power. Typically, when you have a belief, whether it's just simply in a higher power or in a specific denomination of a religion, there are laws governed in how we should behave ethnically and culturally and how we should interact with one another as individuals. And if we didn't allow fear of displeasing that higher power, then we would just be chaotic. We would just be reckless. Recently, in the news, we've had an individual, she was found not guilty, and we don't know the story. She could very well have been. But we have somebody who allegedly murdered their own child. If we didn't have fear of man judging us or that higher power judging us, what's to stop us from all of us being chaotic in that sense? Also, when it comes to being behind the wheel of a vehicle, if you are plowing your way down Hillsborough here at 90 miles an hour and the light's red and you don't give a care because of the fact that you don't have any fear, you don't care about killing yourself, you don't care about getting that speeding ticket or that running that red light ticket or injuring an innocent bystander who may collide with you. So fear is something that is instilled in us so that we can make wise decisions. We weigh which one do we fear more and then choose to do that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I'm going to mix my topic with debating third topics. Fear is being negative and worrying. I have a question for everyone, and you can answer it to yourself. So you know what a negative person is. Are you a negative person? I think that a negative person always expects the worst of everything. So that means fears. I think positiveness will be the opposite. Positiveness is one of the best solutions, I think, to fear. I wrote down my notes, and I'm going to need them to speak to my opposite team. Animals. I think that being careful or trying to be safe is not necessarily fearing. It's totally different than being afraid. It's being smart. Because of course you're not going to stand in front of the lion and let them eat. Animals and bugs in Florida. You have screen porches, you have this repellent spray. You can use safety or protection, caution, but not necessarily be afraid and let that rule your life. Surroundings. Like I said, being careful and obeying the rules doesn't necessarily mean you have to fear and be all panicking all the time. Government, religion, terrorism. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Freedom of religion, you don't have to go crazy about what the news says because you have your faith in your higher power. I believe fear is expecting the negative and faith is expecting the positive. So when you have that faith in your higher power, you don't have to fear anything because everything will be positive. Death. I believe that the only thing in life that doesn't have a solution is death. So, if everything else has a solution, why do you worry? Why do you fear? I also believe that we're on earth for a short period of time. We don't know how short. So that's why we have to enjoy every second of it with the person we have next to us, with our family, with our friends. Enjoy it. And don't waste your time worrying about it when I'm going to lose them. Why are you going to worry about that? If eventually you will lose them anyway. Because that's the only thing that we have assured in life is that we're going to die. I believe that humans are powerful enough to say no and stick to it. Because, like she mentioned, peer pressure. I believe peer pressure is a lack of ownership in your own personality. It's wanting to be like others and not being original. So that doesn't necessarily have to rule your life if you have ownership of your own personality. That's part of having authority, part of being a leader. And when you're a leader, you control your emotions, your body, your health, your thoughts. Because you're a leader of yourself. Then you can lead others. Then you don't fear because you're sure of what you're doing and saying, and you believe in what you're doing and say you're confident. So you don't fear. That's why I believe that fear does not rule your life. You can rule fear. You can control everything you do, think, or say. And not breaking rules, and not doing anything illegal, and being careful at the same time. Not necessarily letting that rule your life. That's when I suggest Toastmasters to improve leadership skills. But that's another subject. Worrying. When you worry about something, you're preoccupied. And the three letters, pre, before occupying, that means you're occupying of something before it even happens. So you're preoccupied for nothing. It's like taking out an umbrella before it starts raining. Does not make sense. Now, I'm going to give my conclusion. If worrying does not solve your problem, then why do you worry? Thank you.
Alright, so now it's time for our final thoughts and conclusions. No new material to be introduced, and that would be from our leader of the affirmative. You can take a few minutes if you need to.
Oh, just clarify that word first.
Yeah, they get the end.
Oh, is it the leader of the night? Sorry. Somewhere I lost my...
In the summarization